I never expected to find the note that would unravel my entire life while cleaning out my grandmother's attic. It was just supposed to be another Sunday afternoon, sorting through Grandma's belongings after her funeral. Instead, I found myself staring at my sister's elegant handwriting, my hands trembling as I read words that made my stomach turn. My name is Harper, and until last week, I thought I was just the unlucky younger sister of Jessica Quinn, the family's golden child. Now I know I'm something else entirely, the fool who never saw what was happening right in front of her. If you're reading this, I'm already gone, the note began. Harper, you always thought you were the victim, but you're the reason I had to leave. You took everything from me, without even realizing it. Now I'm taking something back. I sank down onto an old trunk, dust motes dancing in the sunbeam that streamed through the attic window. My sister had disappeared 3 days ago, leaving nothing but questions and accusations from our parents. They'd been calling nonstop, demanding to know what I'd done to drive their precious Jessica away. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably my mother again. I ignored it, reading the note for the 4th time. Something about the paper caught my eye. The letterhead was from the Grand Marina Hotel, dated just 2 weeks ago. My husband Ethan had been there for a business conference that same weekend. Harper, you okay up there? Mia's voice carried up the attic stairs. I quickly folded the note and slipped it into my pocket. Yeah, just found some interesting stuff. I called back, trying to keep my voice steady. Your mom called me, Mia said, appearing at the top of the stairs. She's worried sick about Jessica. Have you heard anything? I looked at my best friend, wondering if I should share my growing suspicions. The hotel receipt. Ethan's late nights at work. Jessica's increasingly strange behavior at family gatherings. All the pieces were there, but I hadn't wanted to see them. No, I lied, standing up and brushing dust from my jeans. But I think it's time I started looking. As we descended the attic stairs, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. Ask your husband about the Grand Marina Hotel.
She.
My sister always did love her dramatic exits. But this time, she'd made a crucial mistake. She'd given me a place to start. The drive to my parents' house felt longer than usual, each mile adding weight to the hotel receipt burning a hole in my pocket. I'd spent the morning Googling the Grand Marina Hotel, staring at photos of its luxury suites while my coffee went cold. The kind of place Ethan said we couldn't afford for our anniversary. My mother opened the door before I could knock. Finally, she said, pulling me inside. We've been trying to reach you for days. The living room was a shrine to Jessica's achievements, dance trophies, graduation photos, her law school diploma. My own accomplishments were footnotes, tucked away on lower shelves or hidden behind newer frames of Jessica's perfect smile. Where's she, Harper? My father's voice was quiet but sharp. He sat in his usual armchair, looking older than I remembered. I don't know. The lie felt bitter on my tongue. Why do you assume I would? My mother paced the room, wringing her hands. Because you've always been jealous of her. Always competing, always trying to outdo her. And now she's gone, right after your grandmother's funeral? Competing? I laughed, the sound harsh even to my own ears. When have I ever won at anything in this family? Don't be dramatic, my father sighed. Your sister's missing, and all you can think about is yourself. My phone buzzed, another text from the unknown number. They'll never believe you over me. They never have. Have you checked the Grand Marina Hotel? I asked, watching their faces carefully. She seems to like it there. My mother stopped pacing. What are you talking about? I pulled out the hotel receipt, sliding it across the coffee table. Found this at Grandma's house. Interesting date, don't you think? Same weekend Ethan was there for his conference. The color drained from my mother's face. My father suddenly became very interested in straightening the magazines on the side table. You need to stop this, my mother whispered. Jessica would never.
She's not like that.
Like what, Mom? Like someone who would sleep with her sister's husband. The silence that followed was deafening. My father cleared his throat, but said nothing. My mother's hands trembled as she picked up the receipt. Get out, she said finally. Until you can apologize for these accusations, I don't want you in this house. As I drove away, Another text came through. See? Still daddy's perfect little girl.
But don't worry, sis.
The show's just getting started. I turn my car toward downtown. Time to find out exactly what kind of business my husband conducts at luxury hotels. Sam Turner's office looked exactly like you'd expect a private investigator's office to look. Worn leather chairs, filing cabinets with peeling labels, and blinds that never quite closed properly. The man himself was nothing like I'd imagined. No trench coat, no world-weary expression. Just a guy in khakis who looked like he did his own taxes. $2,000 up front, he said, sliding a contract across his desk.
Plus expense.
I pulled out my checkbook, the joint account Ethan and I shared. Might as well let him help pay for his own investigation. How long will it take? Depends what we find. Sam tapped the hotel receipt I brought. This is a good start. Most people come in with nothing but suspicions. My phone lit up with another text from Jessica. Following breadcrumbs, little sister? Be careful what you wish for. I showed Sam the message. She's playing games. Or warning you off, he said, studying the text. People don't usually disappear just to mess with their siblings. There's usually money involved or they're planning something bigger. He opened his laptop. Your sister's a lawyer, right? Which firm? Bradley and Associates. Corporate law. I watched as he typed something. Why? His expression changed slightly. Interesting. Your sister resigned 3 weeks ago. Cleared out her office on a Sunday night. The room seemed to tilt slightly. That's impossible. She was just made junior partner. According to this, she's been liquidating assets too. Sold her condo. Emptied most of her accounts. He turned a laptop toward me. Whatever she's planning, she's been working on it for a while. My hands shook as I scrolled through the records. Property sales, bank transfers, airline tickets. She's not missing at all, is she? No, Sam said quietly. She's setting something up. And from these numbers, it's something big. My phone buzzed again, Ethan this time. Working late tonight, don't wait up. I showed Sam the message. He nodded, pulling out his own phone. I've got someone who can watch the Grand Marina. If that's where they're meeting. I want photos, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Everything they do, everywhere they go. I want proof that my perfect sister isn't so perfect after all. Sam studied me for a moment. Revenge won't make you feel better. This isn't about revenge. I lied, signing the contract. It's about justice. But as I left his office, another text arrived. Justice? Please. You just want what I've always had. But some things you have to take, little sister. I learned that from you. The manila envelope from Sam arrived 3 days earlier than expected. I'd been staring at it on my kitchen counter all morning, coffee growing cold beside it, when Mia let herself in through the back door. You haven't opened it yet? She dropped her purse on the counter. Harper, you're paying this guy a fortune. What if I'm wrong? My fingers traced the envelope's edge. What if I'm just being paranoid and... Open it. Inside were dozens of photos. Ethan and Jessica at the Grand Marina Hotel. Having dinner at Lorenzo's, the restaurant where he proposed to me. Walking through the park near her old office, his hand on the small of her back. The timestamps showed a pattern going back months. That bitch, Mia whispered, sorting through the photos. And look at him, not even trying to hide it. The final photo made my stomach lurch. Jessica and Ethan at First National Bank, leaving the safe deposit vault area. The date stamp was 2 days before Grandma's funeral. Mi ponerang sam turner. Did you get the package?
Yes.
What were they doing at the bank? That's the interesting part, he said. Your grandmother changed her will 3 months ago. Someone accessed her safe deposit box the same day your sister and husband were there. The room started spinning. Grandma had been sick then, barely able to leave her bed. That's impossible. She couldn't have. There's more, Sam cut in. Your sister's been making regular calls to your grandmother's lawyer. And your husband's name appears on some recent property transfers from your grandmother's estate. Mia grabbed my arm as I swayed. Harper. I have to go, I told Sam, hanging up. I grabbed my keys. Where are you going? Mia called after me. To see my grandmother's lawyer. But when I reached the law office, a familiar car was parked outside, my father's Mercedes. Through the window, I could see him sitting with Jessica's old boss from Bradley and Associates. They were looking at documents, nodding, my father's face grim. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Daddy's finally learning the truth about his precious little girl. Shame you won't be there to defend yourself. Another message followed immediately. Better check Grandma's medical records, especially from the week before she died. You always were her favorite, right until the end. I gripped my steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Whatever game Jessica was playing, she'd just changed the rules. And now I had to figure out what really happened to our grandmother. The will reading was scheduled for tomorrow, but I couldn't wait. I sat in my car outside Ethan's office, watching the sky darken and the parking lot empty. Sam's photos were spread across my passenger seat, along with the medical records I'd managed to get from Grandma's hospice nurse, the ones showing unusual changes in her medication doses during her final week. My phone lit up with Ethan's message. Working late again. Don't wait up. I texted back for the first time in days. I know. 3 disappeared, appeared again. Finally. What does that mean? It means I'm in the parking lot. Come out, or I'm coming in. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I was about to get out when he appeared, straightening his tie as he walked toward my car. Behind him, I caught a glimpse of Jessica through his office window, watching. Harper, what are you doing here? He tapped on my window. I got out, clutching one of the photos. Funny thing about the Grand Marina Hotel. They keep excellent security footage. His face didn't change, but his hand twitched slightly. I don't know what you're talking about. No? How about First National Bank? The safe deposit box. I stepped closer. Or Grandma's changed medication schedule? Now his expression cracked. Harper, listen. I have been listening. To lies, to excuses, to working late stories. I shoved the photo against his chest. Now you're going to listen. Tomorrow at the will reading, you're going to tell everyone exactly what you and Jessica did. Or I'm going to the police with evidence of elder abuse and fraud. You wouldn't, he whispered. It would destroy your family. My family? I laughed, the sound harsh in the empty parking lot. You and Jessica already did that. His office window slammed shut upstairs. We both looked up, but Jessica was gone. She's using you, I said quietly. Just like she uses everyone. And when she's done, you'll be nothing but collateral damage. My phone buzzed, another text from Jessica. Careful, little sister. Some games you can't win. I showed it to Ethan. Is this what winning looks like to you? He stared at the message, then at me, something like fear crossing his face. Harper, you don't understand what's really happening. Tomorrow. I cut him off. Everything comes out tomorrow. As I drove away, I caught them in my rearview mirror. Ethan and Jessica, heads together in urgent conversation. But for the first time since this started, I wasn't afraid of what they were planning. I was counting on it. The lawyer's office felt too small for all the tension crammed inside it. My parents sat rigidly in their chairs, while Ethan kept checking his phone, sweat beading on his forehead. I clutched my manila envelope, waiting. When Jessica walked in, everyone but me gasped. She looked immaculate as always, not like someone who'd been missing for weeks. Her smile was pure poison when she saw me. Sorry I'm late, she said, taking the seat next to Ethan. Traffic was terrible in the Caymans. The lawyer cleared his throat. Now that everyone's here. Not quite everyone, Jessica interrupted. We should wait for the police. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Police? They're here to arrest Harper, Jessica said calmly, as if discussing the weather. For elder abuse and fraud. We have proof she tampered with Grandma's medication during her final days. The room spun. That's not. We found your fingerprints on the medication logs. Ethan cut in, not meeting my eyes. And the nurses remember you being there, insisting on handling her care. Because I was taking care of her. I stood up, my chair scraping back. While all of you were too busy to visit, I was there. Every day. Making sure she changed her will? Jessica's voice dripped with fake concern. The timing is suspicious, isn't it? Right after Harper started managing her medication, Grandma suddenly decided to change everything. I ripped open my envelope, spreading photos across the lawyer's desk. You want to talk about timing? Here's you and Ethan at the bank, accessing her safe deposit box while she was dying. Here's the altered medication charts, with your handwriting, Jessica. And here's a desperate attempt to frame her sister. My mother interrupted, tears in her eyes. Harper, how could you? Heavy footsteps approached in the hallway. Jessica's smile widened. I tried to protect you, she said softly. Told them maybe you were just confused, grief-stricken. But then we found your diary detailing everything. How you planned it all. What diary? I don't. The door opened. Two police officers stepped in, their faces grim. Harper Quinn, one said. We need you to come with us. As they led me out, I caught one last glimpse of my family. My father staring at the floor. My mother crying into her hands. Ethan and Jessica, their fingers intertwined, watching me go. But what they didn't see was Sam Turner in the parking lot, recording everything. Or the real medication log safe in Mia's possession. Or the USB drive hidden in my shoe, containing Jessica's actual confession, recorded last night in Ethan's office after they thought I'd left. Sometimes, the only way to catch a snake is to let it think it's won. The interrogation room's fluorescent lights made everything look sickly, including Detective Martinez's skeptical expression as she played the USB recording. Just need to make sure the medication logs match what we planted. Jessica's voice crackled through the speakers. Once they arrest her, the will reading is just a formality. And you're sure about the fake diary? Ethan's voice this time. Already placed it in her apartment. Harper always was predictably sentimental. Martinez stopped the recording. This was taken last night? Ask Sam Turner, I said. He recorded it. And the medication logs my friend Mia has? They show Jessica's handwriting, not mine. Plus the bank footage.
The door burst open.
Jessica stood there, face twisted with rage. You were supposed to be in custody. Funny thing about evidence, I said, standing. The real kind tends to trump the fake kind. Miss Quinn, Martinez warned, but Jessica was already charging forward. You ruined everything, she screamed. I had it all planned. The inheritance, Ethan, all of it. You were supposed to go to jail, just like you deserve. Like I deserve. My voice was steady, even as she grabbed my shirt. For what? Being Grandma's favorite? Having a husband you wanted? Or just for existing? Ladies, Martinez started. You think you're so perfect, Jessica spat. Poor little Harper, always the victim. But I saw through you. The way you manipulated Grandma, turned her against me. Turned her against you? I laughed. You did that yourself. Every time you skipped visiting her. Every time you chose money or status over family. She saw who you really were, Jessica. That's why she changed her will. Jessica's face went white.
What?
The real will reading was this morning, while you were busy trying to frame me. I pulled out the document. Grandma left everything to me, but she also left this. I handed her the sealed letter with her name on it. Our grandmother's handwriting. She knew, I said softly, about the medication tampering, the affair, all of it. She wrote it all down before she died. That's what was in the safe deposit box, not whatever you and Ethan were looking for. Jessica sank into a chair, letter trembling in her hands. Miss Quinn, Martinez said, we'll need you to come with us. We have some questions about medication tampering and attempted fraud. As they led Jessica out, she turned back. I hate you, she whispered, but her voice cracked. I know, I replied, but I stopped caring what you think of me a long time ago. The door closed behind them, and for the first time in weeks, I could breathe. Sometimes justice doesn't look like revenge at all. Sometimes it just looks like the truth, finally seeing daylight. 6 months later, I stood in front of Grandma's gravestone, autumn leaves crunching under my feet. The divorce papers had been finalized yesterday, and Jessica's sentencing was scheduled for next week. Everything was ending, or maybe beginning, I wasn't sure which. I brought peonies, I said to the stone. Your favorite. They're beautiful. My mother's voice startled me. I hadn't heard her approach. We stood in awkward silence, the first time we'd been alone since everything happened. She looked older, more uncertain. I got Jessica's letter, I said finally. The one from prison. Mom nodded. She sent me one too. Told me everything about the medication, about Ethan, about how she'd been embezzling from her firm. She wiped her eyes. I keep wondering where I went wrong. Maybe it wasn't about you, I said, surprising myself. Maybe it was never about any of us. I pulled out Jessica's letter from my pocket. Her familiar handwriting, but different somehow, shakier, more real. I thought if I could just be perfect enough, have everything, I'd finally feel like I deserved to exist. But watching you with Grandma, how you loved her without trying to own her, I realized I'd never known how to do that. I'm sorry, Harper. Not for getting caught, but for never being brave enough to just be your sister. Mom touched the gravestone gently. Your grandmother knew, about everything. That's why she left you the house. I'm selling it, I said. Using the money to start that photography studio I always wanted. The one Jessica said was a waste of time?
Yeah.
That one. Mom turned to me, her eyes wet. I'd love to see her work sometime. If that's okay. Behind us, Mia honked her car horn. We were supposed to be looking at studio spaces downtown. New beginnings. I'd like that, I said. Maybe next week? She nodded, and for the first time in years, her smile reached her eyes. As I walked to Mia's car, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Found this in Grandma's things. Thought you should have it. Dad. Attached was a photo of Jessica and Mia's kids, arms around each other, laughing at some forgotten joke. On the back, in Grandma Dut's handwriting, my girls, remember who you were before the world told you who to be. I saved the photo, but didn't respond. Some bridges take longer to rebuild than others. But as Mia drove us toward downtown, toward my future, I realized something. Revenge might feel like justice for a moment, but forgiveness, the real, hard-earned kind, feels like freedom. And freedom, I was learning, suits me just fine.